Om Gangadipataye Namaha. And welcome to the essence of Dharma. I want to say a few words before beginning about how to get the most out of this series. What we have here is a coordinated blog, vlog, and podcast. It's a regular blog with embedded videos and a linked podcast, audio. And the idea is that the blog post has the outline, the main topics, and any quotes, charts, technical data, outside links, links to other videos on the same topic, and so on. Whereas the video is more of a high-level analysis of what it all means and where it fits in the larger scheme of things. So they're interdependent, and you really need to read the blog post, not just watch the video, or you're going to miss a lot. A lot is going to be hard to understand because you won't have the background. Now, the video and the podcast are the same material. It's just the podcast is the video minus the picture, just the audio track. So that way you can listen to it on the go. You can listen to it on your phone. It's going to be carried on a number of major podcast sites. So if you have an iTunes account, for example, you can download it from there and so on. So another tip is you should go through this series from the beginning. Why is that? Because we assume that you have, and we give important background in the beginning that we reference later on, assuming that you know it. I don't want to repeat myself. This is going to be a big enough job as it is. So what I'm trying to say is here, you should digest each podcast, video, and blog post from the beginning. And when you feel comfortable with it, go on to the next one. There will also be outside links to our previous video channel for background. Make use of them. They're valuable. Okay, now I want to talk about the yogas and the chakras. Everybody's familiar with the chakra system. We use the Chinese chakra system because the Indian chakra system, it seems like somebody tampered with it to make it consistent with some philosophical point of view, some yoga thing or something. So I like the Chinese because it's straightforward and it matches the physiology better. So you take a look at the blog post and you'll see a graphic there where we talk about the Chinese chakra system and what it all means. I'm not going to repeat that here. So basically, karma yoga addresses the functions of the first three chakras: sex, energy, and movement. Everything in karma yoga is about doing stuff with the body, action. Because the aim of karma yoga is to build up a stock of pious merit. This is called punya. So that you have the spiritual bank account balance to go for the higher yogas, bhakti yoga, raja yoga, and jnana. So we see very often in the world people attempting meditation and just failing completely. This is a very common thing. And the reason for it is they don't have an adequate stock of pious activities. They don't have enough punya not enough good karma to support the higher functions. That means the lower 3 chakras are still undeveloped. How can you build a big building if the foundation is weak? So in the same way, how can you develop the higher chakras if the energy supply is not sufficient to support that work? So in the same way, the development of the lower 3 chakras and creation of the karmic bank account, punya, pious activities, is to give you the energy that you need to go on to the higher functions. Now, we talk about sex, Tantra yoga, and that's part of karma yoga. The sex center has to be fully functional, fully open, and without any kind of blockage like neurosis or dysfunction. That means because the sex center is the basic source of energy for the whole body, if it's not functioning at a high level, you're not going to be able to get a high level of functioning in the other chakras. Similarly, the energy storage chakra, the dantian as it's called in Chinese, is like a battery. The battery gets charged from the sex center, and then its energy is distributed, circulated throughout the nadis or subtle energy vesicles in the body. So this has to be properly charged up. You have to understand sex economics, energy economics, and charge up the energy center. And finally, the 3rd chakra, the movement chakra. You have to have some form of exercise, not only for strength and endurance, but also to keep the body supple and healthy. That includes proper diet, exercise. It could be anything from yoga or Tai Chi to martial arts or even just walking. Swimming is great, of course. Dance, wonderful. Especially devotional dance. Then we get into the 4th chakra, the heart chakra, which deals with emotions. This is the realm of bhakti. Now, it's always been my observation that if one takes care of the first 3 chakras and develops them very nicely, that loving heart and open, caring mood manifest automatically. There's not anything you have to do separately. And if one performs the religious rituals that are part of karma yoga, love of God will manifest spontaneously in the heart. And this is the real bhakti. Bhakti, or love, cannot be legislated. It cannot be forced. It can't be artificial. It has to be natural and spontaneous. That's real love. So when the heart opens, then we find ourselves in love. And not the kind of sappy, sentimental love that's based on attachment and identification. Because that only leads to heartbreak when things change. Not if they change, when they change. Because the material world is always changing. How many times have you got yourself in a relationship and then suddenly something changed and boom, the whole thing blows up? So that's because that relationship was based on some attachment, some desire, some lust. But when one loves openly without any desire for return or any attachment to any reward or any particular state, then love goes on wonderfully. The other person doesn't even have to know about it. Actually, the whole world doesn't have to know about it. It's all within you. And this leads to great happiness. And of course, when one is in the loving mood, it comes out in the voice, the 5th chakra, the throat, having to do with communication. So this also can't be faked. Huh? There are many people who try. And we know we see so many stories in the news about people who have relationships, maybe movie stars or pop stars, and then they break up, and it's so nasty and violent and tragic and awful. And we don't need that. But real communication is based on love. The wish to have others have all the best in their lives. So, but that can't be faked. That just comes out naturally. And similarly, the sixth chakra, the Agnya Chakra, or the intellectual center, has to be based on good thinking. So that means all of the delusions and wrong views have to be rooted out. One should become Shastra Chakshush, which means to see things through the eyes of the Shastra, the scriptures, the Vedas. When you do that, then all the delusions are wiped away. You see life for what it is. You don't kid yourself, you don't delude yourself, and you don't delude others. Because the intellect also can control the communications. And when intellect is perverted or dysfunctional, we say all kinds of crazy, stupid things. But when the intellect is based on scriptural knowledge and sound logic, that means something higher than Western Aristotelian two-valued logic, digital logic. The Buddha had a system of logic with 4 logic values, and the Jains had a system with 7 logic values. We use that one. We like it a lot. It's very sophisticated. So anyway, and finally, the Sahasrara Chakra at the top of the head deals with ecstasy, enlightenment, and consciousness. So to reach the full potential of enlightenment, one must develop the other chakras to their full energy and expression. And there's a chart down at the bottom of the blog post about the symptoms of the chakras in the different energy states. So don't miss that. It's very important. It will really help you a lot. So this system of dividing or classifying the yogas according to the chakras is not meant to be hard and cut and dry. It's meant to be very flexible and open system with lots of exceptions, lots of reflections. For example, in enlightenment, the Sahasrara Chakra shines so bright that it's reflected in all the other chakras. And the same is true of any chakra that reaches its peak of energy development. And there's a lot we could say about this. It's a big topic. And so I'm also going to put a link to a previous series of videos where we talk about the yoga system in terms of the chakras. So please take a look at that. Don't miss that blog post. If you're discovering these videos on YouTube, there's a link in the video description to the original post. So take advantage and get the benefit. Om Tat Sat. Om Harihi Om.